Good morning. I just realized the camera opened on the Lysol wipes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. The girls are in pretty big grumpy pants, so we'll see how far we get. They're really extra crabby today. Good morning. Here we go. They woke up super early, like 3 hours earlier than they should have. So they've been crying and fussy all morning since I got here at 6. So I thought I would just jump on real quick and see how far we can go. I put a little telephone in the title, and I'm just going to dive right in, and because I don't know how much time we have. Oh, yes. I put a little telephone in the title because I feel like Spirit is calling us, loudly calling us to create, and as the antidote to, whoops, good, to creation as the antidote for all the destruction we're seeing around us. I wrote a post about it this morning. I actually dictated it in the car on the way down here. And it's posted on my Facebook page and in the Perry Fam follow group. So it just occurred to me that we're getting this message all the time about creativity. And, and we're going through this book. Oh, yeah, great. Sleep is good. And yet, we're still making excuses for why we don't schedule self-care. And we're still making excuses about why we aren't creating. And that needs to stop. Because there's a lot of death and destruction in our environment right now. And the antidote to death is life. And creation is life in action. It is creativity in action is life. And the scales are just out of balance. I feel like the scales are way out of balance. And a certain amount of destruction is necessary. The whole cycle of life thing. We have to have some destruction, but it's gone too far. And as we have over the last few years slashed arts programs, slashed any emphasis on creativity, we've put all our cultural emphasis on sports. All our school monies go toward sports. Nothing goes toward the arts anymore. People don't take kids to, music concerts anymore, like classical music and things like that. We don't go to museums as much anymore. Libraries are failing. We've decreased our creativity back sharply. And I just have to wonder if that's not an inverse correlation to the increase in the destruction and the increase in the negative masculine energy as we have cut the female, the feminine. So then the answer to that is to stop it and restore the balance through putting emphasis back on arts and creative pursuits, music lessons and soccer lessons. Drawing, painting, pottery lessons, along with basketball or whatever. I mean, sports are important too. I don't mean to say that sports programs shouldn't be funded. Sports are, they are creative too. And yet, there needs to be music also. There needs to be artwork also. Let me see if I can get this raised up without knocking us over. Oh, how you like that finger in your eye there? Oh, yeah, camping. Camping is brilliant. We live in the woods now, and the difference in my own mental health is notable. And my own ability to create has increased. I'm afraid if I let go of this, it's going to fall. It's probably going to fall. I guess I'm just going to have to deal with it being down low. I feel like I need to do this. Okay, let's read a little bit. I wanted to get my message to you, and if we have time for some books, then we will. And I do want to find that Summerhill book. And Nina, I do have on my agenda today, my own personal agenda, to answer your email. I do want to get back to you on that. I have some thoughts. So interesting. Our next section is schooling. But I want to read the last paragraph that we read the other day. I want to read it again because I really want you to hear it. Okay. I owe you one. I owe you an email. Let's see. Okay. Let me reread this paragraph from last time because I just think it's so important. And then I'll go on to the next section, schooling. And I'm just going to keep going until the children start screaming. And maybe they'll be okay. I slathered them up with some peace and calming essential oil. We'll see. Your own reasons to create are reason enough. Okay, you don't need permission. All you need to do is put it on your calendar. That's it. When the voice of guilt rises up against you, which I'm equating to the voice of the devil trying to stop the good in the world, or Stephen Pressfield calls it resistance, whatever you want to call it, when that voice rises up, deal with it. Do a worksheet about it, or tell yourself the truth, that there's absolutely no reason for you to have guilt when scheduling yourself on the calendar. I'm going to give her whatever she wants. Would you like a box of candles? Except the Lysol wipes. I don't think I'll let her have that. Here, you want some tea lights? Tea lights are fun. There you go. Merely by pursuing what you love, you may inadvertently end up helping us plenty. There is no love which does not become help, taught the theologian Paul Tillich. Do whatever brings you to life, then. Follow your own fascinations, obsessions, and compulsions. Trust them. Create whatever causes a revolution in your heart. The rest will take care of itself. I want to add there that I think that's how we take care of the problems that we're facing, is through this process of creation and not making excuses anymore to not schedule 5 minutes in your calendar to meditate or pray or scribble on a piece of paper. 101. Page 101, it's in the permission section if you have a Kindle. It's the last section of or a Nook. It's the last paragraph in the section called motives. Oh, darn it. I'm just ranting and raving. You haven't missed that much. I think when I started to write the self-care book, I got super frustrated with how often I heard, well, I know I should be taking care of myself. It's always said with a whine, like, well, I know I should be scheduling self-care, but, just on, there's a blog post about it, just about how our lack of personal responsibility in creating and making time. Not the whine! I know I should be exercising, but I don't have time. I have too much going on. I'm too busy. My response to that is no, you're not. You are not too busy to put 5 minutes in your schedule for yourself every day. That's bullshit. If you can't find 5 minutes for yourself, you better be in the ICU at the hospital. So busy. I'm way too busy. Way too busy. Absolutely. Yes. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Yeah, can't equals won't. It's not easy to schedule time for yourself and then deal with the immediate guilt that comes from that. But it is your responsibility. I'm tired of hearing I want to save the world and I want to help and I want to be of service and whatever. Well, you've got to be of service to yourself first or you're useless to everybody else. Useless. You can't give to me what you can't give to you. So if you're not going to do it, then own it. Take responsibility and say, I'm choosing not to give myself 5 minutes a day, every day, for whatever reason, because I don't want to deal with the guilt, or I can't handle what that means about setting boundaries, or I just can't / won't do it. then own it. Don't blame your family. Don't blame your job. There's no one to blame but your own personal choices. Okay? Alrighty then. Would you like some tea lights? Help yourself, sister. Ooh, they just all hit the floor. Schooling. And then this is, here's another thing. If you're setting that, your kids are going to whine if you've never taken time for yourself and you suddenly start scheduling self-care. They're going to whine and complain and bitch and moan about it. And it's a great lesson for them. And you can say, yeah, I hear you. I know. You're used to having me around all stressed out and frazzly. And now I'm going to go get a massage and you're going to stay with the babysitter or grandma or dad or whoever. And you're going to be okay. And then they're going to grow up and know how to schedule time for themselves and continue the process. So what? They whine. So what? It matters. This matters so much I can't even tell you. I can't even. Oh. That's what happens when you wake up at 3 in the morning. They need to learn that they are not the center of the universe. And you are their teacher. It's your responsibility. Their whining won't kill you. They won't die from it, and neither will you. Whining never killed anyone. Now, whining may have caused other people to kill someone. Sometimes the whiner ends up in trouble. But it's your responsibility. It's your job to teach them how to take care of themselves. And you're not doing that by ignoring your personal need to create. And by ignoring your personal need to create, you're not helping to save the planet. And creation is needed as the response to this elevated level of death and destruction. All right, I'm done. Oh, everyone take a deep breath. Okay, schooling. Let's read what we're actually here to read. I never got an advanced degree in writing. I don't have an advanced degree in anything. I graduated from NYU with a bachelor's degree in political science because you have to major in something. Good. And I still feel lucky to have received what I consider to have been an excellent education. While I always knew I wanted to be a writer, and I took a few writing classes as an undergrad, I chose not to seek a master's of fine arts in creative writing once I was finished. I was suspicious of the idea that the best place for me to find my voice would be in a room filled with 15 other young writers trying to find their voices. Also, I wasn't exactly sure what an advanced degree in creative writing would afford me. Going to an art school is not like going to dentistry school, where you can be pretty sure of finding a job once your studies are over. I do think it's important for dentists to be credentialed by the state, and airline pilots, lawyers, and manicurists. I'm not convinced we need officially credentialed novelists. And history seems to agree with me on this point. 12 North American writers have won the Nobel Prize in Literature since 1901. Not one of them had a Master of Fine Arts. 4 of them never even got past high school. This chapter is about her. I remember this chapter. It's about balancing the true need for education and your need for external validation by having some outside credentials. People can really get hung up on having credentials or not having credentials or having letters to put behind their name or not. It depends. My master's degree gets me in the door of social work programs. It doesn't, it lends me some credence for people to listen to what I'm saying. But, I mean, I got my master's degree because the person sitting next to me in my cubicle was a complete, I'm just going to say idiot. And I thought, well, if she could get a master's degree, so could I. She eventually got fired because her work was terrible. So what my caution is about credentials is still you need to test that person out. You still need to see if they're practicing what they preach. You still need to listen and look for congruency with what someone's presenting and what you're feeling in your gut is. Yeah, because that person we had the same credentials. So if success and competency was based on letters after our names, we had the exact same letters, but our quality of work was way different. And I'm not at all shy about claiming that for myself, because I did put a lot of pride and I still do put a lot of pride in the work I do with people, because to me it's a sacred honor to get to work with people at all. So what she's saying is, you don't have to have those letters. If you want them and you want the experience, go get it. And if you can afford it, go get it. But please don't let not having letters after your name stop you from doing anything at all. Unless it's, legally required. So, on one hand, I completely understand this need for validation. It's an insecure pursuit to attempt to create, right? It challenges your insecurities. It challenges your judgments. It really challenges your need for other people's approval. But if you're working on your craft every day on your own with steady discipline and love, then you are already for real as a creator, and you don't need to pay anybody to affirm that for you. Let's see. I'm skipping a lot of this because it's not particularly relevant. If you're considering some sort of advanced schooling in the arts and you're not rolling in cash, I'm telling you, you can live without it. You can certainly live without the debt, because debt will always be the abattoir of creative dreams. One of the best painters I know is a teacher at one of the world's most esteemed art schools. Hi, Heath. He's a master, yes, but he learned his mastery on his own. He became a great painter because he worked devilishly hard for years to become a great painter. Now he teaches others at a level that he was never taught himself. Hi. Students flock from all over the world to study at this school, and many of the students come out of that program with tens of thousands of dollars of debt. My friend cares deeply about his students, and so watching them fall deeply into debt, while paradoxically they strive to become more like him, makes this good man feel sick in the heart, and it makes me feel sick in the heart too. When she asked him why they do it, oh, it's stuck. Is it frozen? Am I frozen in with some weird facial expression? Because that's what it really likes to do. It likes to freeze. Periscope likes to freeze right as you're making the most ridiculous facial expressions. Okay. The reason he said is, the truth is they don't always think it through, schooling. Most artists are impulsive people who don't plan very far ahead. Yes. Artists by nature are gamblers. Gambling is a dangerous habit. But whenever you make art, you're always gambling. You're rolling the dice on the slim odds that your investment of time, energy, and resources might pay off later in a big way. That somebody might buy your work, or you might become successful. Many of my students are gambling that their expensive education will be worth it in the long run. I get this. I've always been creatively impulsive too. It comes with the territory of curiosity and passion. I take leaps and gambles with my work all the time, or at least I try to. And this is for any kind of creation, even if that's just painting your living room. You must be willing to take risks if you want to live a creative existence. But if you're going to gamble, know that you're gambling. Never roll the dice without being aware, or making a garden, or crocheting a scarf. It's all a risk and a gamble. Always be aware that you're holding a pair of dice in your hands, and make certain that you can actually cover your bets, both emotionally and financially. Going into massive debt in order to become a creator can make a stress and a burden out of something that should only ever have been a joy and a release. Yes, please don't think that you have to go find an art class or a writing class or make a nice salad class. anything you want to know, you can find on YouTube. I learned how to make sauerkraut, my own sauerkraut, off YouTube. And I just looked up how to make kimchi last night because I want to make my own kimchi because it's pretty expensive. Yeah, and it's great. And I've ruined a batch. The first batch was great. The second batch was ruined. Making sauerkraut is a gamble because you never quite know how it's going to turn out. But you don't have to go take a cooking class. You don't have to... Oh, I love kimchi also. You have to practice and you... So, another excuse I hear is, well, I need to take a class. You don't have to take a freaking class. If you don't have internet, you're fine. You're here right in time. If you don't have internet, go to the library and watch YouTube. You can get internet at the library. There's coffee internet cafes around that are usually free. You don't have to use that as an excuse. There's no reason for you to not create because you say you have to go take a class first. That's another garbage excuse. People want instant excellence without the practice these days. Yes. I do love classes. I love taking classes. I'd love to take a pottery class. Yeah. But I'm not going to use that as a reason not to create. A lot of my drawing came from studying with an amazing teacher in Colorado. A lot of it came from watching YouTube. A lot of it came from watching Stan Prokopenko. And, yeah, you can't always afford to take classes. What's his name? Justin Vining. Justin Vining is a cool artist. Watch artists in their process and you can learn. Watch other cooks and you can learn. Watch PBS and you can learn and do something. They can be. Sometimes you're lucky enough to live next to a rec center or near one and you can get stuff there. But what I'm saying is don't use a lack of education as an excuse not to create. Yes, Bob Ross. You can watch Bob Ross. You can paint a happy little tree. You can paint a happy little tree with a cotton ball dipped in finger paint. You don't have to go out and buy special paint. You can draw with a crayon. You can draw with a number 2 pencil. Knock it off with the excuses. Yeah, you can just watch other people doing it. It's not hard. No. Yeah, well, that is an extreme example. Okay, instead of taking out loans to go to a school for the arts, maybe try to push yourself deeper into the world and explore more bravely or go more deeply and bravely inward. Take an honest inventory of the education you already have, the years you've lived, the trials you've endured, the skills you've learned along the way. If you're a young person, open your eyes wide and let the world educate you to the fullest extent. Ascend no longer from the textbook warned Walt Whitman. That's a lot of W's. And I warn it too. There are many ways to learn that do not necessarily involve schoolrooms. And feel free to start sharing your perspective through creativity, even if you're just a kid. If you are young, you see things differently than I do, and I want to know how you see these things. You don't even have to start a blog. So for a while, we were like, well, if you want to write, start a blog. And that's not always easy for some people if they're, if they struggle with technology. You can go to medium.com and you can start writing articles immediately. You don't even have to start a blog. You do know how to, string some letters together and form some sentences. But that's about it. Log in. There's a button on the right that says write an article. Write an article. You don't even need a blog anymore. We all want to know how you see the world. And I won't get to know how you see the world if you aren't producing something. When we look at your work, whatever your work may be, we will want to feel your youth, that fresh sense of your recent arrival. Be generous with us and let us feel it. After all, for many of us, it's been so long since we stood where you now stand. If you are older, trust that the world has been educating you all along. You already know so much more than you think you know. You're not finished. You're not finished, you're merely ready. After a certain age, no matter how you've been spending your time, you have very likely earned a doctorate in living. That's it, we're all doctors. I'm going to start calling myself Dr. Wolf. If you're still here, if you've survived this long, only Tanya's really the only one that legitimately can call herself a doctor. I'm going to give us all honorary doctorates, okay? Whoa, do you hear? Whoa. What? Woohoo! I heard. I heard it in my head, too. What? The Doctor of Love. Some people call me Maurice. Which I never understood that line. I thought it was ridiculous. Okay, the doctorate. If you're, let's see. We need you, if you're older, to reveal to us what you know, what you've learned, what you've seen. Steve Miller Band, a Steve Miller Band throwback song. If you are older, chances are strong that you may already possess absolutely everything you need to possess in order to live a more creative life, except the confidence to actually do your work. But we need you to do your work. I would say, if you care at all about the human race, you will go ahead and produce your work regardless of what reaction you're anticipating, as a personal responsibility to being here on the planet. For you not to do that, for you to take your personal, unique brand of creativity to the grave, is a criminal offense, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Whether you're young or old, we need your work in order to enrich and inform our own lives. So take your insecurities and stick them where the sun don't shine. Oh, cool. Well, it's a message for you then, probably. Take your insecurities and your fears and hold them upside down by their ankles and shake yourself free of all your cumbersome ideas about what you require and how much you need to pay in order to become creatively legitimate. Because I'm telling you that you are already creatively legitimate by nature of your mere existence here among us. Do you hear that? You're already creatively legitimate. You don't need somebody else to tell you when you can call yourself a writer or to give you some stamp of approval. That's complete and utter nonsense. That's stuff that it was put into place by those who want to keep those fields elite. I mean, what do you do if you're a great artist? You make other people feel like crap if they're not. And by doing so, you reduce your competition, right? There's always a motive to that garbage somewhere. And it's generally to minimize the people you're competing against and to keep the playing field a little bit more empty. Well, if everybody could be an artist, then, you might have some serious competitors out there. Gotta rerun the old Sesame Street. I can't believe they're leaving me alone. They were awful this morning. I'm kind of in that head-knocking mood. Like, I want to go start smacking people upside the head. It's mediocre artists that shame others. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's insecure artists that shame other artists in an attempt to make themselves feel more lofty or more achieved. Also, another bucket of bullshit. Yeah, the truly great artists share. They're generous. They share their skills. Writers, too. They're generous with offering, time permitting. You want to be respectful of people. But people are generally, if they're secure, very generous with their knowledge. And they don't try to make it mysterious or seem somehow unattainable. Your teachers is the next section. They know there's enough pie. They know there's plenty of bananas. Do you guys hear the buzzing? Did I forget to turn my notifications off? Oh, you know what's happening? My battery's going dead. I'm killing my phone. I'm going to keep talking until it shuts off. It is going to shut off, though, just so you know, when it goes. Let me see if I can grab a charger. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Problem solved, yo. Problem solved. Okay. Let's see if I can get that. My phone's overheating, though. You guys do it. Oop. Maybe I need a new battery or something. It is overheating quite a bit lately. What was I bitching about? I lost my train of violent thought. Oh, yeah, right there. Poke that in there. Judith Dickinson is who I studied with in Colorado, and she's an incredible painter. It must be, Roseanne, because, oh, yeah. Oh, is it a Scorpio moon? Is it in Scorpio or something? That woman only charged $20 a class for group classes. $20. And she brings down, I think she's up to $15,000 for one painting. And she charges $20 per class. And she and her husband open medical clinics and schools in Africa. They're always running back and forth to Africa to spread the wealth. That's generous. She could be a multi-millionaire by now if she wasn't so generous with her time. I mean, she could take private clients. I would have willingly paid her hundreds of dollars to study with her privately. I would have had to sell drugs to do it, but, you know, whatever. Who's going to believe a middle-aged woman is selling crack? I could have got away with that for years. And I would have, but she never took private clients because she didn't have time. Yeah. So do you want to study under the great teachers? Is that it? Well, you can find them anywhere. They live on the shelves of your library, on the walls of museums. They live in recordings made decades ago. Your teachers don't even need to be alive to educate you masterfully. Occasionally I want to punch people in the face. I want to just give them the old two-finger throat punch sometimes. I don't always feel violent. It's just occasionally I do. And who was I with? Was I with you, Mom, when we went to the Van Gogh exhibit in Denver? And they had Van Gogh's early notebooks. Van Gogh learned to draw. We all want to do the old throat punch. Right in the old, whatever that is. They had Van Gogh's notebooks. It was a brilliant exhibit. And he learned to draw by copying other artists. Adam's apple. Right in the old gizzard. He started out copying other drawers, other artists. So he was copying them. He had a portable. He made a grid out of a wooden frame. Yes, with wires across it, so that he could hold it up and draw in sections. And his early drawings were terrible, because all early drawings are terrible. And there was a woman next to me, and she said, I can't believe this. He cheated. And I was like, cheated? Because her kids were there. And she was saying, I can't believe he copied other people. He's not a real artist. He cheated. And I just felt that itch in my right hand to just turn around and give her the old backhand, because her kids were taking that information in. Nobody starts without imitating other people first, or learning from a book or a YouTube video or whatever. So to put that idea in a child's mind, don't you think it deserved a bitch slap? That's kind of what I think. I didn't do it, though. I didn't. I wanted to. Okay. Your teachers don't have to be alive to educate you masterfully. No living writer has ever taught me more about plot and character than Charles Dickens. All I had to do in order to learn from Dickens was to spend years privately studying his novels like they were holy scripture, and then to practice like the devil on my own. When we went to the Met that had people paint, yeah, they had people painting, copying the masters. That's how you learn. I don't know who the first painter learned from. God, I guess. Aspiring writers are lucky in a way because writing is such a private and cheap affair, and always has been. With other creative pursuits, admittedly, it's trickier and can be more costly. Strict supervised training can be essential if you want to be, for instance, a professional opera singer or a classical cellist. For centuries, people have studied at music conservatories or dance or art academies, and many marvelous creators have emerged from such schools over time. And then again, many other marvelous creators did not. And many talented people acquired all that magnificent education, but never put it into practice. That's lame. Most of all, there is this truth. No matter how great your teachers may be, and no matter how esteemed your academy's reputation, eventually you have to do the work by yourself. Eventually you have to take personal responsibility for putting pen to paper or brush to board or whatever you do. Hook to yarn, whatever it is. Wrench to carburetor kit. There's all kinds of creativity. Put the bit in the drill and go put something together. Go build a raised garden bed. Eventually the teachers won't be there anymore. The walls of the school will fall away and you'll be on your own. And you can apply this to your spiritual practice too. I mean, it's great. I will never stop reading. I will never stop taking classes in spirituality. But at some point, the rubber has to meet the road and you have to start your daily practice, or all you're doing is what I so classily like to refer to as mental masturbation. I'm sorry I said it. It's just how I think of it. If you're just cramming information in there and you're not doing anything with it, that's fine. But then don't always be searching and searching and searching for a way to connect to your spirituality. You've already got that. You have to put it into practice. Never stop learning. But don't just be jerking off on a lot of books too, because that's gross. I don't know why I think of it like that. I'm going to say that I heard somebody else refer to it that way. And I don't know if I should claim that one for my own. Okay. The sooner, let's see. The hours that you will then put into practice, study, auditions, and creation will be entirely up to you. And the sooner and more passionately you get married to this idea that it is ultimately entirely up to you, the better off you'll be. And that is for your entire life. It's not your fault that you got hurt. It is your responsibility what you do with it. And that sucks. And then you have to get over that part of how much that stinks, that you have to clean up a mess that somebody else made. But you clean it up and then you do what you came here to do. I think I'm going to stop there. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. Let me just flip through and see if there's anything that stands out. Okay, the other thing that stands out is not in this book. It has to do with a question and answer session that Carrie Ann Moss did for the people who are taking the Fierce Grace program. It's a year-long program. And it's a 5-minute, 5 or 10 minutes daily practice and a weekly video and stuff. And she had a Q&A session, and I just was able to listen to it this morning. And she referred to a book called Circle of Stones. Have you guys heard of that book? This is what happens when I'm driving. I grab my journal and I write at stoplights, and people look at me like I'm crazy. Is that rude? So rude. Would they rather I write while I'm driving? Circle of Stones. She read a little. Yeah. Whoa. She read a little bit out of that book, and of course I'm going to butcher it probably, but the bottom line is it was a circle of women, and there was a hag doll, and I don't know if this is like a myth or an actual practice, but there was a doll, an ugly, ugly, ugly doll, like ugly hair, a tail, hideous face, and it represented all our cast-off parts and all our shadow bits and rejected pieces and the things that we really don't want to think about, the things that we always apologize for, the things that when we think them we feel immediately ashamed that we thought that. And so the women were like whispering all those things, which is interesting because about 2 weeks ago, I decided to do a similar ceremony at the retreat this summer, a shame circle where you tell your story and get witnessed. Anyway, this doll was like the container for all their whispered, shameful things that they disowned. And then eventually one of the women, and again, I'm butchering the hell out of this, but one of the women picked up the doll and cradled it. So that's a story, but that is the truth of what needs to happen to live a whole, authentic and honest life, and to have a pure channel of love from out wherever it comes from out into the world. That channel obtains its purity through acceptance of those things that we want to call ugly, those things that have a tail and an eye dangling out and half their hair is burnt off, or however you want to visualize it. That hag part of us, male or female, has to be accepted. The monster part of us has to be brought home and cradled and held and integrated. Otherwise, it shows up outside of us, and it's called Donald Trump, and it's wearing a hideous hairpiece. Speaking of hideous hair. There you go. You're being so nice and quiet. Thank you. I thought it was a concept for an art project, maybe, that you could actually find some materials and make yourself an effigy, a representation, a three-dimensional representation. I've had people do this on paper, draw the parts of themselves or draw a concept of the parts of themselves they feel like they can't accept. And it's pretty productive. But I thought it might be cool to take that one step further and make a doll, a hag doll, a monster doll, a little effigy that represents those parts so that you can tangibly see. The problem is all this stuff's going on inside of us, so we have a hard time conceptualizing it. And if I had a whiteboard, I would do a lot more drawing. If I'm teaching in person, I'd use a whiteboard a lot because we need those visual models to make sense of these dark internal processes. But consider that. Consider getting, either buying a pre-made doll and destroying it, or creating a doll out of sticks and cotton, paper towels, grass, pine needles, whatever. I'm going to do it, and I'll show you mine once it's done. I mean, the forest is full of things that I can make a hag doll out of. And then use that as something tangible that you can see, and whisper to it your story if you can't find somebody else to listen. And then bring it in. Then hold it. Don't destroy it. Treat it as sacred, because those parts are sacred, even though we really don't like them. And then, Yeah, so a large part of the problems we're dealing with is because we have not done that. You can only shove parts of yourself outside for so long, and it will kill you. And as a society, we've done that. We've exiled everybody who's not white out to the hinterlands. we've banished everything that we don't want to look at, and now it is popping up in the form of people expressing insane concepts that other people are then grabbing and amplifying. So if we can't hear that, we've completely gone deaf. And that's what occurred to me on the drive down here, is the message is being shouted at us from both directions. Here's the thing about nature. Wherever there's a poisonous plant, there's an antidote plant pretty close by, if you know where to look. So poison, poison ivy and poison oak, within a few feet, maybe 100 yards, not even that far. Really close by, you'll find another plant called jewelweed, or as the guy in our hauler calls it, touch me not, because when you touch the seed pods, they explode. It's really pretty cool. But where there's a poisonous plant, there's an antidote plant. And we've got a poisonous political race going on right now that is shouting at us the problem. And we have the antidote to that poison shouting at us from the other direction that says, please create something. Please create something. Your contribution to dousing the fire over here can be as small as a little doodle. Can be as simple as making a cake from scratch. It can be as simple as taking children to the park, which I would do, but I don't have the car seats. Fire and water. And we've got to listen to both of those, and we've got to bring them together to settle it out again, to find the balance. Things don't stay in balance. We know that. A pendulum swings. But our pendulum is swinging way, way, way away. We need to rein it back in by listening. We've got that's what I heard. 2 major messages going on right now. Which one are we going to listen to? And that's up to you. And whatever your choice is, I don't judge you for that. I really don't. But own it. And claim it. And take responsibility. Yes. We feel divided in ourselves. We feel that war within. And we will not stop it. You can not vote for Trump. Please don't vote for Trump. I'm not voting for Trump. I don't know who I'm voting for. I'll vote for somebody, but it won't be Trump. And that's not enough. Casting an anti-vote is not really a vote. Even if you like Hillary or Bernie or whoever you end up voting for, it's not enough. People will say to you, well, your power is in your vote. And that's true. But your bigger power is in your heart. And you're listening to it or not listening to it. That's where you really need to cast your vote. Are you going to allow that creativity to come out? Are you going to continue to watch that pressure cooker bounce? Bounce. That lid is bouncing. It's rumbling. And it will blow up. Don't do that to yourself. Turn the heat down, take the lid off, take a look in there, and do something with all that energy. My phone's still dying. What is that? Do you hear it buzzing? Hold on. Yeah, it's still croaking out. Oh, and it's really hot. Okay, I better stop. Ooh, my phone feels like it's about to burst into flame. Probably reflecting my own inner attitude today. Oh, make yourself a hag doll. Yeah, I'm going to go. And the babies are being quiet, so I'd like to interact with them while they're being good to reinforce that behavior. Yeah, good. Go journal, please. God, don't go to bed tonight without creating something. I'm done. Goodbye. Love you. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.